Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today I want to talk about what is the trucking industry's problem? Like in a what the fuck is your problem kind of way. For the past 3 years, we have all been in a situation where there's absolutely no stability, no consistent way of making money, and no proof that something is going to get better. So why are a lot of us staying in this industry when everything has been so crap? Because of hope that things will get better and that the past 3.5 years were not just time flushed down the toilet and that it was all worth it in the end. But the question is, how in the world did we get here? Was it COVID? Was it immigration policies? Was it the lack of regulation enforcement? What caused this industry to get to this point where it pretty much flatlined? This is what we're going to be talking about today, and I'd be very curious to hear your opinions. Ready? Let's go. So right now, what I realized we have is a lot of people having a lot of different opinions on how we got here. And it's a lot of finger pointing. Some are pointing the finger at immigrants. Some are pointing the finger at the DOT and the lack of regulation in some aspects. Some are pointing the finger at carriers for taking cheap freight. Others are saying it's all the broker's fault. So I completely understand that everyone is everywhere. Let's put emotions aside just for this video and let's look at facts to try and get a better understanding of how we got here. Number one, COVID and social media. This is a fact. When COVID hit, when all the warehouses finally opened up, but when there was social distancing, people could not go to work, guess what? With their brand new stimulus checks, people were spending money on products because the service sector was pretty much off limits. Everything was shut down. So with those stimulus checks, people were buying more stuff that goes on a truck. Obviously, that made load volumes go up. There was more freight. The capacity hadn't caught up then, so there was a huge difference in what the load volumes were and where the capacity was. And of course, the rates shot up through the stratosphere. And then, as this was happening, the media, and especially the social media, started talking about how much money there is in trucking. We have had influencers talking about how it's easy money and how they're buying new cars, new homes, new yachts, and regular media just talking about how crazy the rates are. People are not stupid. They started realizing that, hey, if you really want to make some big money, you go to the trucking industry, and the barrier to entry was low, so everyone started flooding in, especially during the time where all of a sudden the service sector started opening up. People, consumers who were not allowed to use the service sector because of social distancing, all of a sudden flooded to that part. Services are something we cannot transport on our truck. And guess what? Just as the volumes were going down, capacity started skyrocketing. And all of a sudden, we're in a situation where there are significantly more trucks than there are loads. And of course, rates plummeted. Number two, the ATA's driver shortage myth. For years, the ATA, or the American Trucking Associations, that represents mega carriers, has been spewing a lie that there is a huge driver shortage in the United States. Why did they do this? Because mega carriers treat their drivers like a money-making tool rather than a human being. And the turnover in those companies is insane. Actually, the ATA itself admitted in 2022 that they found that the driver turnover is 91%. So out of 100 drivers, 91 walk out the door. So the easiest way to keep those trucks moving and find a warm body to sit behind the wheel of the truck is to, of course, have more CDL holders to choose from. And how do you make people interested in getting a CDL? Well, you make up this myth that there is a huge driver shortage, which creates the illusion of scarcity. And scarcity will usually mean that you have a potential to make money. All right, time for the fiery part. What happened during COVID with the rates going up? Together with the myth that the ATA made up about some driver shortage that doesn't exist, what do we get? Fact. companies importing drivers from other countries and making it easier to get a CDL. Now, before everyone starts going for my jugular, this is a fact. It's not an opinion, and I'm going to prove it to you. December 16th, 2021, straight from the White House fact sheet, and I'm going to quote this whole thing. Trucking Action Plan to Strengthen America's Trucking Workforce. Immediate action number 1, take steps to reduce barriers to drivers getting a CDL. And I quote again, DOT and the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration are supporting state departments of motor vehicles as they run to or even exceed pre-pandemic commercial driver license issuance rates, which is helping bring more truck drivers into the field. FMCSA will provide over $30 million in funding to help states expedite CDLs. So what did that result in? More than 876,000 CDLs issued between January 2021 and April 2022. But this is not where the data stops. This is not where the number crunching stops. According to Blaze Media, the co-founder of the American Truckers United organization, the name is Shannon Everett, looked through the numbers and saw that, and I quote, 10 states and Puerto Rico had somehow managed to issue over 3.5 times the number of CDLs as all of the other 40 states combined. So here's an example. Oregon dumped almost 100, just shy of 100,000 CDLs in 2022, which was 77 times the normal yearly number. Then we have South Carolina, which issued 77,580 CDLs in 2021, which is 43 times their normal output. And then, of course, this was after the numbers were seen and data was crunched. There was a question, a simple question by the American Truckers United. I'm going to show it to you here. Is it even possible to test, train, and qualify 43 times your normal output? So what was their theory? Their theory was that drivers were outsourced from other countries. Now, as all of this is happening, right, we have to remember 2021 and the beginning of 2022 was still when the rates were high. As all of this is happening, rates start going down and companies can no longer survive. We have companies that are shutting down, filing for bankruptcy, and those that recently financed a crap ton of trucks because they thought that 2021 or the 2021 market would last forever, they are facing a really big problem right now. They have a choice: either file for bankruptcy, get your trucks repossessed, or continue operating somehow. So obviously, companies start trying to find ways to cut costs. Now, according to FreightWaves, a recent article from them, and I quote, the largest expense, driver wages, proved challenging to cut as experienced, documented drivers resisted reductions. Many small firms turned to hiring drivers without work permits to reduce expenses. These workers often obtained CDLs in the US without passing domestic CDL tests. Some states accepted foreign CDLs without verifying the driver's experience or qualifications, meaning many never proved that they could safely operate an 80,000-pound truck. Additionally, some drivers lacked proficiency in English, complicating communication and compliance. I know this is long-winded, but I'm continuing. In 2016, the DOT officials were reportedly instructed to overlook drivers' CDL qualifications and work permits and to accommodate those who didn't speak English. As a result, drivers without proper documentation or permits could not be placed out of service, even if DOT officials knew they lacked credentials. Now, I know this is not the complete list. There are a ton of other things that happened. I just can't fit them all into one video, but let's talk about what about brokers? Where do brokers stand? Well, brokers are a product of their environment, right? All of a sudden, a broker has ample choice of carriers, and when he posts a load for $1 per mile, his phone is ringing off the hook with carriers fighting each other on who is going to actually get the honor of transporting that load that is going to cost them money. What do you expect the broker to do? Because if you think that the broker is going to tell you, no, you have to look at your numbers, this load is going to actually cost you money, you shouldn't take it, that's not going to happen. They're just going to take the cheapest offer they can get so that they can get more money. And then after enough time passes where brokers now see that, hey, I am moving freight for dirt cheap and I can move this 1,000-mile frozen load for $1,200 easily. Guess what? They start quoting their customers accordingly. And the funny thing is that they are not the only ones quoting their customers, right? Because there are also a ton of brokers that popped up during the COVID time. So now this customer, the shipper, is getting a ton of brokers underbidding each other on a load that is 1,000 miles and is frozen. And the result is shippers obviously choose the lowest bidder, and brokers then trying to make their margin pay less to the carrier. Because we have brokers underbidding each other with the customer, and we have carriers underbidding each other with the broker. So here's the thought I want to leave you all with. Even if capacity tomorrow were to decrease by 50%, some people, and this is something I have noticed, I actually have seen it myself. Some people are so deeply traumatized by the last 3.5 years that they will continue to take cheap rates, whatever it's posted for, without negotiating because they're too afraid of losing the opportunity to haul something. Now, I'm not going to point the finger and try to blame someone for what happened or what has been happening since 2022, because the reality is it was a perfect storm of crap. But I absolutely will fault those that right now are not negotiating with brokers for a higher rate just out of fear of losing a load. No one said that this market is easy. It's still shaky, it's on shaky ground, and it's pretty difficult to get a good paying load. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't be negotiating the highest rate possible. Anyway, guys, what do you think? Curious to hear about your opinions. Wishing you all a fantastic rest of your week and weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, and keep learning. See you in the next video.